Welcome to the next episode of Brandland. I am your host, Garrett Justice, and today I'm joined by Chelsey Puckett, who's the marketing manager at Texas Title. Chelsey, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Great. How's that Texas weather?
It's good. It's a little chillier than usual, but we can't complain. I'm sure it'll be back to 70, 75 by the end of the weekend.
I
So,
know you and I were just talking about this before we jumped on. Chili in
yeah.
Texas is really different than like chili where we're at in Salt Lake City or, up north further. So chili, what
Oh,
is it,
yeah.
in the 40s, right?
Yeah, it's in the 40s. So you can't really complain, but when you usually don't have to wear a coat, having to remember, like, oh, it's so cold outside. I need gloves. I need a hat. I need a coat. But I'm originally from Oklahoma and we have crazy weathers.
Yeah.
So it's not so bad.
Well, good to hear. Well, thank you
Yeah.
again for being willing to be on the show today. I'm really excited to dive into our topic. But
Yeah.
before we do, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about your career and also Texas Title?
Absolutely. So I have been working in kind of like the marketing industry for the past 5 or 6 years. I went to Oklahoma State where I graduated with a business degree, and then I went ahead. I just couldn't leave, so I stuck around for another year and got my MBA. And I think that gave me like a very unique perspective working in marketing, just having a little bit more of that additional background knowledge in business operations. And so from there, I've worked for a few different organizations in slightly different marketing capacities, but very similar in the sense of trying to grow the brand and help the brand overall have a similar and consistent tone and feel. And so I've been working at Texas Title for about a year and a half. And since then, we've already added 3 new offices. And Texas Title is really unique because it's a family owned company, but that's growing like a major corporation.
Mhm.
And so we have 9 offices and growing, and we're licensed in 48 counties. And my favorite thing about it is, while it's a very technical thing, title, and when you're buying a house and all of the different things that have to be correct, it's super exciting because our mission is to provide peace of mind for one of life's biggest investments.
Mhm.
And that's buying a home, the place you call home. One of our main initiatives is to make everyone feel at home. And so that's something that really drives how we go about our business and how we go about us having a brand. And the company was founded in 2013. So it's still relatively young. It's not a super old company, and it's already quadrupled in size since then. So it's lots of super exciting opportunities to try new things and grow the brand in different ways, all while keeping in mind we want people to feel at home while they're buying a home. So
That's
it's,
awesome.
yeah, it's exciting.
Very cool. Well, I'm excited to dive into our topic today and just kind of
Yeah.
pick your brain, based on that experience that you have, with your education and then also there at Texas Title. And our topic today, is you and I were talking about, what we should discuss today. You kind of proposed
Yeah.
this idea of creating consistent corporate branding across
Yeah.
different markets that you serve. And I know that has been something that's probably been really top of mind for you. As you mentioned,
For
Texas
sure.
Title has grown rapidly. You open these multiple offices, even just in the last year or so. And so I'm really excited to dive into this topic today. And so the first question I have for you, just to kind of jump into this,
Okay.
is, I think for most organizations, it's hard enough to create a consistent brand when you only have a single location or one market that you serve, but it only gets more and more difficult as you grow and as you expand. You add these new offices.
Right.
How do you maintain that consistency, right? So I guess to start off, what challenges has Texas Title faced, especially when it comes to maintaining consistency as the company has grown? What have you run into?
Absolutely. So, the title industry, it's a very autonomous industry. So, although we have the main corporate office and we have branding guidelines in place, and there's all of these different sort of steps we've taken to create a consistent branding image and feel and experience for all of our clients, because it's so autonomous, escrow officers do things differently. They're doing the same thing, but they have a lot of autonomy, again, to use the same word, over their own business and how they like to do things and how they want to be perceived and how they want to be presented. And so it's been challenging to make sure we have an umbrella of a consistent branding in terms of our messaging, our marketing, our collateral, our pieces that we're putting out, while also trying to infuse our escrow officers' own personality within them, but somehow make them universal. So it's definitely challenging to try to tweak things ever so slightly to where it's still within our branding, but it's theirs so that they feel that they had a say in it, because what they put out to their clients, I mean, it has Texas Title on it, but it has their name, it has their face. They've probably written part of it, and they want to make sure that what they're putting out says something about their own brand.
Mhm.
So it's been a difficult but exciting challenge to create pieces and campaigns that can not only elevate and explain and share what we're trying to do as a company, but also what each individual escrow officer is trying to accomplish in their own business.
Yeah.
Um, if that makes sense.
Yeah, total sense.
Yeah.
I've heard that before. In essence, it's really co-branding, right? Where
Yeah.
I think that comes up a lot in the real estate space, whether it's title or
Yeah.
selling real estate, where the agents who are out there on the front line selling, they're building their own brands and their own businesses alongside and under this umbrella of the companies. So how can you
Yeah.
find that right synergy and balance to maintain consistency while also enabling them to be true to who they are? So I've heard
Yeah.
it before. I know. I think it can be pretty challenging, right?
Can be pretty tricky. Yes. And luckily everyone is really bought in to the main brand. We worked all of 2021. That was our main initiative, was to internally establish very strongly what the Texas Title brand means, what it means to the owners, what it means to marketing, what it means to our finance department, what it means to each escrow officer. Like, we really challenged everyone to kind of take ownership of what making everyone that comes into the office feel at home, making Texas Title feel like a place to call home. And so that was really helpful in having people take ownership of the brand, but in a guided way. And so that's kind of how we've circumvented the challenge of everybody has their own ideas and their own opinions and their own thoughts of how they want the brand to be portrayed. And so kind of getting that buy-in from the very beginning in kind of shifting the brand direction that we were going has been really helpful for us.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm hearing you saying that too is, co-branding with these individual agents can seem sometimes, if not approached in the right way, as, they're facing one another. They're competing for space and time, if you will, each
Right.
of those individual brands. But what I'm hearing you say is, by establishing a really strong and consistent brand for Texas Title and helping educate agents out there, you're helping them understand how the Texas Title brand can help support and back up their own individual brands. And it gives them, a space to have more synergy rather than compete with it. Is that right?
Absolutely. So we definitely, cohesion is like a huge effort. It's a huge word that we like to use a lot, because we want, if you go to our office in Southlake, we want it to feel like you came to our office in Dallas, or you went to our office in Arlington. Like, we want it to be like, I know I'm at a Texas Title office. I know what these are the expectations I have based on my knowledge of the brand. That's something we want every agent, every client, when they walk in, to feel. And then, of course, because it is such an individualized process when you close on a home, and you have your own escrow officer, you have your own sales rep, and they have their own distinct ways of doing things. It's about having that cohesion so that then that escrow officer and the sales rep can shine. They can have their own personality. They can do things exactly how they want to do them, because we've created this level of cohesion and expectation in how people view our brand. And so instead of sort of like trying to compete with, well, I need my brand to be bigger than the umbrella brand. It's like, no, no, no. We're all working together in the sense that the entirety of the brand is saying what you want to say. And now you can say what you want to say in your own way, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And I
Yeah.
think that kind of ties into the next question I really had for you is,
Yeah.
I think that, customer service and the customer experience is just a key part in building any sort of strong brand. But I would imagine that's especially true in your industry, right? When someone comes into an office, when they're working with that escrow officer or a salesperson, right?
Right.
It's very interactive in that
Yeah.
moment. So how important is customer service for you and for your company, and how does that relate to brand consistency for you?
Absolutely. So, customer service has always been something that's super, super important to Texas Title. And this year, actually in 2021, a huge initiative of ours is really streamlining our customer service, really identifying who exactly our customers are and what they want. And so that's kind of, we're in the first processes of, we've always offered excellent customer service, but not in a super personalized to our brand way, just more of a general, these are some general things in customer service that we want to go above and beyond. And all of the escrow officers and the sales reps, the receptionists, like they all emulate customer service. They're all so good at it. But now we're trying to take that step further and saying, how are you portraying customer service in a way that aligns with our brand?
Mhm.
And so, a way that we've been doing that, and again, it's January, so we're just launching sort of these initiatives. But again, it just comes back to consistency, trying to maintain the same look, feel. And it sounds kind of silly, but even from how we answer the phone, like we want everyone to answer the phone sort of in the same way so that if you call any office, they're going to know, okay, I've got Texas Title on the phone. I might be at the wrong office. I might have called the wrong number, but I know that they're going to get me to the right place because I can recognize that I'm speaking to Texas Title, if that makes sense. And it's really kind of starting from the basics, from the ground up of just how do we make every single thing that we do from a customer service standpoint personalized? How do we make it as unique of an experience as possible while also as consistent as an experience as possible? So if you close in Frisco, it's going to be, you're going to have the exact same, like, above and beyond experience that you're going to have in any one of our other offices. So does that answer your question? I know it's
Totally.
kind of okay.
Yeah.
It's something we're
Yeah.
just starting, so it's a bit tricky, but we're definitely diving into really tailoring the experience as much as possible.
Yeah. And so I guess it kind of, for me too, it ties back to what you said initially. It starts with being really tight and defining what your brand is, right? And then
Yeah.
you have that framework or even like yardstick to measure how do you then apply different types of activities. You know, customer service is going to be important for you, but what is
Yeah.
the flavor of customer service that's unique
Yeah.
to Texas Title so that it feels like it's part of the brand? And, I think that that's so key because, you know, in and of itself, how someone answers the phone, does it really matter? Maybe
Right.
yes or no, but it is an interaction that either adds to or takes away from the brand that you're trying to build for Texas Title. So in the long run, all of those things add up to either build a strong, consistent brand or take away from your brand and make it less consistent and less strong.
Exactly. And because we have 9 offices, nobody can be in all 9 places at once. And so it makes it a little bit tricky in the sense of coaching on those customer service principles. So we have to kind of start with the very, very basic bare minimum of, this is how we're going to answer the phone from now on. This is what we're going to do when somebody comes in. And everybody's already knocking it out of the park. But again, they're doing things differently enough that it's excellent, but it's not necessarily all within the same brand. You can't necessarily tell we're all within the same company, other than, of course, like our visual branding, our guidelines, like all of that, you can tell we're all the same company. But yeah, exactly like you said, it's something that it's not, you say that to someone and they're like, okay, answering the phone, like, why are we even talking about this? But it's like, no, when you have 9 offices and 9 different receptionists doing 9 different things, that's something that you can easily say, okay, this is going to be an experience, like you said, that adds to our brand.
Mhm.
It's simple, it's easy to roll out, it's easy to coach on, it's easy to manage. Like, it's easy to say, oh, remember, like, this is how we answer the phone. Next time, this is what we're going to want to say. And so, that's just an example, of course, but little steps is how we kind of start any initiative. And so for customer service, that's kind of what we're doing this year, is starting those little steps, slowly adding and adding and adding and adding until it's muscle memory for all of our offices.
Yeah, that's great. So we so far in this conversation, we've talked a lot about that branding piece and the consistency across different locations and offices.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, like on the flip side of that too, what's your process for identifying and measuring what's unique about what the clients want in each of those different markets that you serve?
Absolutely. And that is so important because consistency is key, but also, like we mentioned, tailoring experiences because what our clients want in Mansfield is not the same as what our clients want in Frisco. It's not the same as what our clients want in Colleyville. It's just not. You can make assumptions and you can say, okay, in general, most people like these 5 things, but then we want to take that a step further. And the way that we do that, again, it's really focusing on our escrow officers and our sales representatives that know their markets. They're in their markets, they're selling their markets, they're working with people and agents that are huge representatives of their markets. And so we really, really work as a collaborative effort. Myself and my digital marketing manager, Amelia, both of her and I really try to take the time to ask the right questions, to survey the right people and get as clear and concise of a picture of what those clients are wanting, like what we're doing right, what we can improve on. And so it's, again, just a really collaborative process and speaking with our escrow officers. And it's twofold in the sense that they're helping us make sure that we're identifying the right steps to make it as tailored an experience and consistent experience as possible. But then they're bought in. So they're buying in already from day one because we've asked them, okay, what can we do for your clients? What are we missing in this market? What have you seen our competition doing in the market that you don't like or that you do like? And what can we do to kind of place ourselves in a position where it really feels like what you're doing is for Colleyville, what you're doing is for Southlake, for Arlington, for Fort Worth. Really making sure that those experiences are tailored from the perspective of the people that work in them every single day. And that's really helped us maintain a consistent umbrella, but have unique and specific experiences for each office. And I think that that's really helped the staff and the escrow officers buy in to what we're trying to do as a company, like umbrella. They're like, okay, well, I'll do these things because we get to do this, this, and this. And that feels like exactly right for my clients.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess one of the takeaways from that for me is kind of exactly what you said at the end there, that, it's so important to involve everyone across your company in empowering them to help build your brand, right? They need an understanding of what is a brand and why should it matter, right?
Yeah.
And then what does our brand look like? And then when you can enable them to play a part in that and customize and personalize that experience in their moments, but still do it under this umbrella of the larger brand, you're in a way teaching them what the brand is and getting that buy-in for them to help build it.
Absolutely. And it's been such a process in the sense of we started in 2020 really focusing on our mission and our values and really kind of focusing more on the internal employee engagement, building that up to where that's muscle memory for everyone now. Like they know that these are our values. This is what's important to us. That's why this is what's important to our brand. That's why our branding is this. That's why we use this messaging in our pieces. And so it's really kind of one of those processes where you do kind of have to start from the ground up of, like you said, making sure people understand the brand, embody the brand, and then they can sell the brand in a way where consistency kind of just naturally occurs because everyone's on the same page about what is important to the company, what's important to them, and what they value as escrow officers, because it's such a personal experience helping someone close on a home and it's a stressful experience. And so we really try to focus on kind of, we call it full circle moments where it's like what we worked on last year ties into an initiative that we're doing this year and helps them share what we shared with them internally, externally.
Yeah. Full circle moments. I love that. That's awesome.
We love it. It's one of my favorite phrases. I'm sure I say it entirely too much, but that's all marketing. All marketing people pick a phrase and they're like, okay, we're going to circle back, full circle moment. And so I could pick a worse one. So it's not so bad.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate it. I think it's great. Well, Chelsey, this has been an awesome conversation. A lot of really insightful stuff. I guess, for our listeners out there who are listening to this now, who might be in a similar role as you, based on what we talked about today, how would you summarize, the takeaway steps? What should someone who's listening to this, what would you recommend they go and do if they wanted to apply some of the principles we talked about today?
Absolutely. I think the very first thing you can do, you have to decide what you want your brand to say. What would you feel like when you walked in to an organization? How would you want to feel? What would you want to be given? How would you want to be spoken to? And the way that I suggest people do that is think about your favorite brand experiences. Where do you like to shop? Where do you like to buy things? Where do you get your hair cut? Where do you get your oil change? Like, why do you go to those places? What about those places make you think, oh, like, well, I only go get my oil changed here. I only go to this dry cleaner. I only go to this place to like get my tires worked on or whatever. You know what I mean? Like the different places that are your places, and think about why those are your places. Why do you go to those places, and what do those places make you feel? And then identify what you want to say as a company. And then again, baby steps. I always suggest like starting small, because grand visions are incredible. And I'm such a dreamer and such like a grand vision person, but you have to have accomplishable steps. And especially if you have multiple locations, something so simple as, this is what we're going to do when we answer the phone. This is what we're going to do when a client walks in. And this is what we're going to offer them. Steps 1, 2, and 3. Until you have that mastered, then you can build and build and build. But if you push too much at once, nothing's really going to get done, just from my experience. So I think starting small and deciding what you want to say as a company is the easiest way to sort of maintain consistency across multiple markets.
I love it. I think that's awesome advice. I love the thought that you shared, just about, think about those places that are your places, right? I think that oftentimes we as a business person, as a marketing person, we might think that we compete on price or certain things, but in reality, when you think about it in your own life, are you really loyal to a business on price? Maybe sometimes, but more often than not, it's those other things. It's the experiences. It's the people there. It's all of the things that help build a brand that really keep you coming back, right? And so how can we apply that in our individual businesses and focus more on that rather than, do we compete adequately enough on price or other things, which is also important. But again, at the end of the day, that loyalty is built by that brand.
Yeah. I'll never forget reading, this was years ago. It's like the number one factor in building customer loyalty is customer service. That's literally the number one. Like, price is important, excuse me. Like you said, where your location's important. All of that is pivotal to having a successful business as well. But the number one thing that will keep people coming back is how they felt when they came to your office in the first place, or when they shopped with you, or whatever you want to call it. So I couldn't agree more. I think it's so important to really establish how you can make somebody else feel, because 9 times out of 10, if they had a great experience, they're going to come back, and they're going to be ambassadors for you and your business. So it's like win-win.
Yeah, totally. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Chelsey, thanks so much. This has been an awesome conversation. If there are listeners who want to follow up with you, if they have questions or things like that, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So if they want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm Chelsey Puckett on LinkedIn, or my email address, it's cpuckett@texastitle.com. They also are more than welcome to get in touch with, I co-manage with a digital marketing manager, Amelia Sherba. It's asherba@texastitle.com. Her or myself, or you could always just reach out to marketing@texastitle.com, because we kind of have hard last names. Mm-hmm. We are more than happy to chat and answer any questions, or if anybody has any ideas for us, always open to feedback. So if anyone wants to get in touch, just give us a holler.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chelsey. Appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of the day.
Yes. Thank you so much. You too. It was such a pleasure meeting you.
You too.
Bye.